Ever feel like some stories, well, they get told so many times that the original meaning gets, like, a little fuzzy? Well, get ready to unfuzz your brain because we are diving deep into one of those stories, one of those classic tales. That's right, we're tackling Adam and Eve, but with a fresh perspective, I promise. We're going deep with Eve's forbidden choice. And trust me, this isn't the version you heard in Sunday school.
Not at all. This book is less about, disobeying rules and more about digging into the psychology of it all, Eve's inner world, her motivations. It's really fascinating stuff.
So picture it, the Garden of Eden, total paradise, right? But I'll hold the apple puns for a sec because this book, it doesn't dwell on the scenery. It's all about Eve's inner world, her thoughts, her doubts, that burning desire to just understand everything.
It's that thirst to understand why, The book actually uses that phrase. And it really struck a chord with me. It's so relevant even today, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's like, why do we binge true crime podcasts? Why are conspiracy theories so popular? It's that human need to uncover hidden truths, right? To make sense of this crazy mixed up world we live in.
100%. We're wired for it, I think.
Okay, but let's back up to Eve. Pre-Apple incident, pre-Snake even. One thing that really jumped out at me in this book was how much it emphasized Eve's curiosity. And I don't just mean a little, ooh, what's that kind of curiosity. This is deeper. It's about questioning, wanting to know more than what she's been told.
Yes, and the author drives that home with phrases like, seeds of doubt not born from malice.
Ooh, I remember that line. It gives you chills, right? Because it suggests that her curiosity, her questioning, it wasn't coming from a bad place.
Exactly. She's not being portrayed as defiant or malicious. It's more like she's wrestling with genuine questions about the nature of knowledge itself, which is something we all grapple with, right?
Totally. It makes you wonder, how often do we silence our own seeds of doubt because we're afraid to rock the boat or whatever? But speaking of rocking the boat, enter the serpent. Now, this book doesn't let him off easy. He's still definitely the crafty one. But what I found fascinating was how the author portrays his methods.
Right. It's not just some mustache-twirling villain, is it?
No. He's less about outright lies and more about, twisting existing truths, playing on those what-ifs that are already bouncing around Eve's head.
It's like watching a masterclass in manipulation, you know what I mean? The way he plants those seeds of doubt, appealing to her desire for something more, something greater.
Oh, totally. There's that line where he tempts her with the idea of being like God, knowing good and evil, having that ultimate understanding. It's like he's tapping into her deepest desires and framing it as this empowering choice.
He's basically saying, you deserve this knowledge. Don't let anyone hold you back.
And you know what? That kind of language, it's still incredibly effective today. Think about it. How many times have you bought something you didn't need because of a clever marketing campaign, or gotten roped into an argument because someone knew just the right buttons to push?
Oh, all the time, right? It's like
we're hardwired to be susceptible to that kind of persuasion, even when we know better.
And that's why I think this portrayal of the serpent is so brilliant, because it reminds us that we all have those vulnerabilities, those desires that can be exploited. And recognizing that is the first step to, becoming more discerning, more critical thinkers.
Absolutely. But going back to Eve for a moment, it's important to remember that despite the serpent's influence, it's ultimately her choice.
Right. He might be the master manipulator, but she still has free will.
And that choice, that moment of decision, is where things get really interesting.
And the way the author describes that choice, that moment, it's not just Eve casually biting into an apple, It's described as this whole visceral experience.
Right, like she's really feeling it.
Exactly. It's like this huge rush of awareness, but also this realization of what that awareness means. There's exhilaration, definitely, but also fear.
Yeah. And the author captures that perfectly with that line.
The veil of simplicity had been torn away.
Ooh, chills. Every time. It's like the point of no return,
Absolutely. And then that gut punch could never go back.
Ugh, so good. Right?
It's like that scene in every hero's journey where they step through the door and they know life will never be the same.
Totally. But okay, let's talk about those consequences because this book doesn't shy away from them. And it's not just about, getting punished.
Right.
It's the emotional fallout, the relational fallout.
Right.
That's what really gets me.
Oh, for sure. It goes so much deeper than just, you broke the rule, now you're in trouble.
Exactly. There's shame, there's guilt.
Her whole dynamic with Adam changes. Even the pain of childbirth is tied to this choice.
Which is so often how we hear it, right? Like, this was the original sin, and now women have to suffer for it.
Right. But here, it's more nuanced than that.
Okay. I like where you're going with this.
It's like these consequences are presented as the natural outcomes of her actions. She disrupted a certain order, and now she's dealing with the ripple effects.
Cause and effect, but like on a cosmic level.
Exactly.
And even Gon's reaction is interesting here. It's not just this like furious, vengeful anger.
No, it's more like sorrow, right?
Yeah.
Like a parent grieving a lost connection.
Which, I don't know, it makes it all feel more relatable somehow.
It adds a layer of complexity, I think.
Yeah.
Because it suggests there's more to this story than just disobedience and punishment. There's this real sense of loss on both sides.
Which makes you really rethink those traditional interpretations of the story and of Eve herself, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, is she a villain? A victim?
Or is she something more relatable?
Yes. Like, she made a mistake, a huge one, obviously, but her motivations were understandable, you know?
Human, even.
Exactly. She was trying to learn to understand the universe on a deeper level, even if she maybe went about it the wrong way.
It's a mistake many of us still make today, wouldn't you say?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But anyway, the book ends with that powerful image of Eve leaving the garden, right? Forever changed.
Right.
And it's not a happy ending, but it's not entirely bleak either.
No.
It's like she's carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, but there's also this glimmer of hope.
It's like she's stepping into the unknown, right? With this incredible mix of trepidation and, well, potential, I guess.
Like, goodbye, Eden.
Yeah.
Game on, universe.
Yeah, exactly. She messed up, for sure. But she's going to own it. It's a new beginning, in a way.
It makes you think about Eve's legacy, you know?
Yeah.
What do we make of her story after all this? Is it just a warning, like, don't eat the fruit, kids, bad things happen? Or is it more complicated than that?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And I honestly don't think there's one easy answer. She's a complicated figure, Eve.
For sure, like, if we're being honest, she kind of brought the drama, right?
Totally. But there's also this element of, like, she was brave, in a way.
Or challenge the status quo like that.
Exactly. To question, to seek knowledge, even if it meant, you know, facing some hard truths. It's kind of admirable when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she wasn't content to just accept things as they were. She wanted more. She wanted to understand, even if she went about it all wrong. It's kind of a fundamental human drive, isn't it? To push boundaries, to see what's beyond the next horizon or behind the next door.
Totally. And it's interesting, right? Because without Eve's choice, there is no fall, right?
Whoa, mind blown. I never thought about it like that.
Right. No expulsion from Eden, no messy, complicated, beautiful human history as we know it.
It totally reframes the whole thing. It's not just a Paradise Lost story anymore.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so what's the takeaway here? What do we do with this new understanding of Eve?
Well, for me, it comes down to this. Eve's story is a story about human nature. It's about our curiosity, our ambition, but also the limits of knowledge and the consequences of our choices.
And those are questions we're still grappling with today, right?
Oh, absolutely. Just think about.
Whoa, okay, hold on a second. I think we're officially out of deep dive time for today. But listeners, you know the drill. We've only scratched the surface here.
Barely even dipped our toes in, really.
Exactly. If you want to really dive deep into Eve's story and all its complexities, you've got to check out Eve's Forbidden Choice. It's a fascinating read, and trust me, it'll give you a lot to think about. Until next time, happy reading, keep asking questions, and as always,
Happy deep diving.